And this webinar is going to focus on our issues with our preteens and our teenagers, how to best deal with them in the most mindful and conscious way. This is our first session of 4 live sessions, but there are going to be many videos that are also going to be interspersed throughout the course that I will be posting quite regularly. I love this community. I welcome all our new members, and I encourage you to ask questions of each other, to dwell in a place of curiosity, to enter a state of open-mindedness, and to engage in the material that I'm about to present to you with an open, expansive heart. I would like to begin this course with a moment of silence, because tuning in to our children, especially in these years of pre-teenagehood and teenagehood, requires us to enter silence. And through silence comes an inestimable quality that in the spiritual community we call stillness. And stillness allows us to really understand what path to take. With our preteens and our teens, the path is quite clear, more clear so with this age group, the path of connection or correction, connection or disconnection, presence or misattunement. What is the path we're going to take? Making that choice with our preteens and teens is crucial, because at this age, now that we've kind of messed them up in quite a beautiful way already, they are highly attuned to any more missteps we're about to make. So their thermostat is so attuned to us that we don't even realize it, but we walk outside their room coming toward them, and they already can sense our energy. We ask them the most benign question and their arsenal is already up. And we wonder, well, what did I say? I just asked a question. They are so sensitized to our unconscious garbage by this age that they are ready to turn on or turn off in a moment's notice. So stillness allows us to now make the right choice. With our teens, there is not too much time left, and our mileage with them to make mistakes has become really attenuated. We don't have much mileage left. The teen years are serious for us parents. They're severe now. Whatever we didn't pay attention to until now is going to come back tenfold harder, stronger, and more a slap on our face. So whatever we didn't pay attention to now, we have a short road to recover. But the leash that our children, our teens give us now is a short leash. So if we mess up on how to make that choice of connection or correction too many times now, they are going to enter the deep underground and shut us off. Now, I know I'm sounding really ominous and not cheerful, as I think I try to do once in a while, but I'm serious that the teen years are the most severe and serious times for us to enter our conscious state. We do not have much time left. The errors of our past come back hurling rocks and stones, moods and sulks, tantrums and anger, entitlement and surliness, ungratefulness and frustration, tenfold over. There is not much time left to have the leisure of a childhood. Their childhood is fast disappearing. And in its place is an adult who is going to rise in its glory, but will only allow us in if we are willing to enter with attunement, presence, and the highest state of consciousness. So let's start with a moment of silence, having talked for the last 10 minutes, because it is only through the repetition of silence that we will enter stillness, that we will know which choice to make with our teens, because there's very little mileage left for screwing up. So let's enter that moment of silence, making a pledge that for the remainder of our teens' life, we need to commit to deep presence, because there's not much time left that they will allow us to stay in their presence. They are going to elbow us out and shove us away within moments. The time to recover is now. So let's enter a state and presence of silence and stillness, pledging to recover from our unconscious past, and state and declare to the universe, from this moment on, we will change the tide with our teens. We will change the tide. Deep breath, feet on the floor, connect to this virtual, glorious community. Connect to your learning. Connect to this moment. Connect to your heart. So now we begin learning all about how to consciously enter the last few years of our children's childhood. But let me tell you, the most pivotal, the most essential, not in terms of us creating the fundamentals, because the time for laying the fundamentals has passed, but it is the most crucial for really screwing up the connection. Our children are now being ushered into the doorway of their adulthood. Their ability to discern our authenticity or our inauthenticity is heightened. Their ability to tell garbage from truth is sensitive, is acute, is honed by this age. Their retaliation against our garbage is strong. It comes out in disguised ways. It comes out through banging of doors, through not paying attention to us, through turning away from us, through their rebellion, through their withdrawal, through their hanging out with their friends and not wanting to hang out with us at all. This is their rebellion, their discernment against our inauthentic connection. Now, this is a very hard pill for us to swallow. You know, till now we have enjoyed the leisure of power, the leisure of control, the leisure of ordering them around, of dominating them with our superiority. No more. They will not have it anymore. Now, sometimes our teens may not be so strong or so direct to say stop. They may do it in insidious ways, in subtle ways. They may become lax and listless and limpid and unmotivated, and they may become anxious and depressed. These are also signs of their anger, their frustration, and their rebellion against our emotionally superior, narcissistic, and controlling ways. This is a serious course, guys. This is not about the beauty of children and entering the present moment because they are our gurus and they are our leaders. For that, you can buy my course for the kids under the age of 6. This course is for you to rise up and now recorrect, realign, and course correct. This is about taking charge of the last few years you have to make a pivotal influence in your children's lives. This is not about you having any time to waste now. I speak with an urgency in this course. I ask you to wake up. For whatever missteps you may have made, this is the time to course correct before your teen or your preteen shuts you out of their life completely. You want to have the most powerful, enlightened connection with your teen, but you're going to have to work all the more harder. They are not going to take any prisoners for a cheap price. They are going to demand you that if you want to steal their heart, you're going to have to pay for it. You're going to have to earn it. You're going to have to work hard, and you're going to have to discipline your ego. There is no doubt that your teen is going to demand that you pay a high price. The more you slept in their childhood, the more you were in slumber, unconscious, full of ego, controlling, unaware to who it is you are and what energy you bring, the higher the price your teen is going to exact of you. And they should, because they want you to wake up. You didn't wake up till now, and they're going to say, Mom, Dad, wake up. You didn't wake up till now, and now I'm going to wake you up in a rude way, perhaps, but I'm going to do you the biggest favor of your life. So this is an urgent month. I'm not going to be easy with you. I'm not going to be as gentle, perhaps, as I would if you were a parent of a younger child, because time is of the essence. In this course, we are going to revolutionize how we look at teens. Just like with young parents, I revolutionize with them how they look at toddlerhood. Teenagehood is an exaggerated, more sophisticated toddlerhood in many ways. And I don't mean to minimize your teens, because I believe toddlers are highly intelligent, highly precise, and also very sophisticated to wake us up. But now the teens, you know what advantage the teens have? They have the advantage of now knowing our garbage, of knowing our bullshit. So now they're going to come back not only with the precise intelligence of a child, but they now know our game, and they're going to play our game better than we play our game, and they're going to come back. So now we have to decode not only what they're trying to say, but all the garbage that we put on them and have to undo. We are going to look at teenagehood as an exaggerated version of toddlerhood. Poor impulse control still, inability to make good judgments, inability to rein in their emotions and have powerful emotional intelligence. They still don't know how to have adequate gratification of instinctual needs. They still don't know how to make decisions in a forewarned manner. Their cerebral cortex is still under construction. Their brain, as Dan Siegel says, is still being remodeled. It's still under construction. But they are also highly intelligent, highly powerful, and at the brink of breaking through with the power of the adulthood that is about to come, and the innocence and the wisdom and the brilliance of children that is still surging through. So now you have childhood that's pushing through, and you have the brilliance of adulthood mingled with the power of childhood. So this is the revolutionary storm where your teen is now nestling between childhood and impending adulthood. What a powerful age this is, but what a confusing age it is as well for the teenager and for the parent. So I'm going to share some conscious parenting jewels through a story. My daughter is 13 years old. Last night, she told me that she had a huge science test today. She also told me that she needed to stay after school and do a project. And then she absolutely needed to help her friend choose her outfit for her birthday party that was happening this weekend. Mom, I need to do these things. I absolutely need to do these things. Maya, you have a test. Maya, you have homework. No, Mom, I got it under control. I need to do these things. So there I was on the phone. She had called me from school, trying to discern how much connection, how much correction, how much connection, how much correction. Maya, you need to study correction. Mom, I need it, connection. So the battle of the connection and the correction ensued. No, Maya. Yes, Mom. No, Maya. Yes, Mom. This is the eternal battle now of the teenage years. Their need to assert their autonomy and independence, and our need to assert our control. Our needs, which often come from fear, from our conditioning, from our insecurities, from our inadequacies. Mom, I got this under control. Should we let go? Biggest lesson of preteen and teenagehood. Should we let go? So I said yes, because conscious parenting says we always reframe everything with a yes, with conditions. Yes, you can go, but the minute you come home at 7 o'clock, you're going to have to do this and this and this. Yes, I promise. Conscious parenting tip: everything with a measure of salt. No, not with a measure of salt, with a mountain of salt. But you let go, and the teen says to you, thank you so much for trusting me. And you go, I'll be a fool later, I'm sure. The teenager goes, the teenager returns at 7, of course, forgetting promises, forgetting all the contractual conditions that they had promised just a few hours earlier. The teen enters. The teen is exhausted. The teen crumbles into a pile, into a heap on the bed, rolls themselves into the bed covers, and tightens themselves like a sausage in a bun, in a roll, in a hot dog roll. Where's the teen, you ask? Where's that teenager who said, Mom, thank you, I promise? And you wonder why you were such a fool to trust. This will come up for you every single day. Should I trust? Should I not trust? Should I let go? Should I listen to my parental ego, or should I release and surrender? So I stood at the doorway watching my daughter, crumbled, exhausted. She said, I'm so tired, Mom. Can you give me a massage? And I'm thinking to myself, the checklist, the lies this child has just told me, the lack of trust, the lack of word, the lack of follow through. And I stood there And I'm thinking, the science homework, the math homework, the science test, the science test, the science test. And the anxiety is rising, 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 right? You know what I'm talking about. But through years of mindfulness, hopefully you now, through years of conscious parenting, can almost watch the dialogue and the checklist and the should have and the could have and the frustration in your mind, almost as if it's another person talking to you. So thankfully, my mindfulness practice after 13 years has allowed me to almost watch my ego that says, why did I listen to her? Why did I let her go to her friend's house? Why do I trust a 13-year-old? Should I not have known better? Why am I such a bad parent? Why am I such a weak parent? All that conversation, almost as if it is another person talking to me. So I stood by the doorway and I listened. And I listened to the anger, the frustration, the almost hatred for myself as an ineffective and poor parent. And I watched and I watched. And I let that ego rise strong. We have to allow ourselves to be an ego, but we have to watch that ego. And I almost saw the ego wanting to come out and get angry with my teen and go, you cheated me, you betrayed me, you always say one thing and then you do another thing. But then, after 13 years, if there's one thing I can give you, and the one thing you need to remember is that you never get seduced by this ego. You've had 12, 9, 13, 14, 15 years now where you know this ego is a trickster. This ego is toxic. This ego is poison. It will never take you down the right path. And let me tell you, while it allowed you to feel in power and control prior to age 9, after age 9, if your child has a bone in their body, a sense of rightness in themselves, a sense of worth, they will not let you get away with this ego. So I watched my ego seducing anger because I was righteous. I was right. My teen was violating every condition in our contract, lying there like a lazy bum, toddled in some mattress. I couldn't even see her head or her feet. Where on earth was she, the trickster? She had lied to me. And the ego was talking, seducing me. And I wanted to be intoxicated by it. But I know, and I'm telling you, the biggest gift I can give you, the biggest lesson is if you listen to that ego, you have created a disconnection so wide between you and your child that you will take maybe 48 hours to undo, 72 hours to undo. Blood, sweat, and tears. You don't want to undo anything with your teenager because they will not let you undo it. So you want to listen to the ego, watch it as if it were another person talking, and then you say, I can't listen to you. I can't listen to you because the hell I will pay, the price I will pay for listening to you is worse than if I just surrender to the jewel of conscious parenting, to the as is of the moment. So I stood there on the doorway and I said, okay, the child is exhausted. The child has no brain right now. The child has no logic right now. Can I enter the as is and surrender? How long will it take me? Maybe 15 or 20 minutes. So I left the ego at the door, which is the only place it should belong and should stay, and entered the bed, rolled into the mattress with my teen. She snuggled close to me. My mouth was still itching. The lips were quivering to lecture, to preach, to act like a martyr. You know, you promised me that and you're not listening, and to slice in some shame. You know, you always do this. You're always saying things and never following through. And then to really like punch in some subtle punishment. You know, I just will never trust you again. You know, I just won't be able to do that. I'm just going to have to take away your phone for the rest of the evening because we have no time. And then some martyrdom. You know, I'm always trusting you, and this is always the lesson I have to learn. And I don't know why I'm always so nice to you. Some combination was quivering to come out of my mouth. I stared pinpointedly at a spot on the wall ahead of me, which is my way of disciplining myself. And I just stared at that spot, and I closed my mouth, and I just kept stroking her and massaging her. And I challenged myself not to speak. It was hard, but I kept stroking, kept staying silent, and kept connecting with her non-verbally. She snuggled closer, and I said to her, "You're so tired. You've had a long day. Tell me about your day. It was really tiring, huh? My God, you must be so exhausted right now." And she said, "Yes, and I have so much work to do." And I saw the window open, and again, the ego wanted to go through. And I said, "I know, but we'll get it done." And then she snuggled closer and said, "Actually, I only have math. It's going to take 15 minutes. And I have science. It's going to take 20. And then will you help me study for the big test? That'll take maybe an hour and a half." And then she released and I released. What I'm trying to teach you here is that when we step into the as is and we surrender, that is the first entryway to connection. The teen then trusts you, then wants to hear from you. And then I suggested to my teen, can we get up right now? Can we wash our face? And can we begin right away while you're eating your snack? And my teen was open. We studied all the way till 11 o'clock. She did great, but constantly forcing me and challenging the reining in of the ego, the anxiety. How do we dismantle the ego with our teen and our preteens? How do we dismantle the ego? The first step is to notice that it is not our teen who is triggering us, but that they are triggered by their own life circumstance, that they are exhausted by their own social negotiations, that they are constantly under siege by their brain that is changing, by their body that is overworked. We have no idea about this. We are not privy to this. Only they are. And they're confused by it, and they are overwhelmed by it. So they are not being obnoxious or obstinate or stubborn or distracted because of us, the queens and kings in their lives. No, they are under siege by a body that is confusing them, by a brain that is constantly changing, and by social engagements that are turbulent, that are dysfunctional, that are experimental. Number two, they are not triggering you. You are triggering them. On top of their body that's triggering them, on top of their brain that is triggering them, on top of turbulent social interactions that are triggering them. So can you ask yourself, do I really need to trigger them more, or can I lessen their load? Because if you become one more person that triggers them, they are going to now shut down because they are on overload. So they are already triggered. You are triggering them. You have to ask yourself, can you lessen their load? The only way you can lessen their load is if you check into that ego that is constantly seeking control. How do you get into that ego? If you're not paying attention to your ego, that voice of control, you will not be able to rein it in. Now let's dismantle the ego that comes up with a teenager, which is very different than the ego that comes up with your child. The ego that comes up with your teenager is a different ego. It's a heightened ego. It's an ego that's more desperate for control because you can quickly see your control sliding and slipping away. The ego that comes up with a teenager is directly linked to your own experiences as a teenager growing up. It's more complex. It's more convoluted. Your issues of worth, of rejection, of fitting in, of belonging, of inadequacy, of low worth, of being controlled by your parents. This is going to come up 100 times more with your teenager than it did with your child. So for those of you who have young children watching this, you have no idea what's about to come. You have no idea, right? Parents of teens, you and I know that your teen has got your game better than any child has your game. Listen, they have your game because you've been playing a game with them. They are done with you. Do you understand? They are done with you. My teen, Maya, she's constantly saying, stop, mom, you're annoying me. Mom, you're not listening to me. Mom, you're talking too much. And the minute she says that to me, I don't take it for an invitation to have my ego rise more. I shut up. I go, she's right. For her, it's too much. It's 13 years too much. It's 24 hours more too much. It's one more minute too much. I recede. I don't take it like an insult. Don't you talk to me like that? No. I tell her sometimes, you could be nicer about it. Stop. You need to say it in a nicer way. I have a big fat ego. You need to take care of me. But mostly I just turn it around to, oh, you're so snarly, gnarly. And I tease her and I tickle her. I go, okay, Maya, I'm going to keep quiet. Or fine, thank you, Maya. I'm going to leave the room. And I just take it as a very necessary indication that our teen needs in order for them to survive. Our ego is going to be on overdrive. This entire month, I'm going to ask you to watch your ego. It is going to rise like never before because your teen has your game. And they're not going to play your game with your rules anymore. It is time for our teenager to play their game. And we don't want to relinquish control. We don't want to let go because of how we were treated as teenagers by our parents. The more controlled we were, the more we are going to want control at this age. The more inadequate we were, the more we're going to see our teenagers' inadequacies and we're going to try and fix them. Even more than we did when they were children, because when they are children, there's a tape that plays that says, they're children, or the ones who rejected our kid are children and they don't know any better. But now when we watch our teenager being rejected by another sophisticated, intelligent, brilliant teenager, we go, uh-oh, is there something wrong with my kid? Now it hits home even closer because they're not 5-year-olds rejecting your 5-year-old and we can say silly 5-year-old. Now it's a sophisticated 14-year-old and a really brilliant 16-year-old who's telling your 16-year-old, you're not good enough. Now you're going to be challenged in your worthiness and your adequacies as a parent, and to see the abundance in your child even more. The stakes are high on every level. That's why this is a pivotal age where we can really break it or we can make it. This is also the age where they can come to depend on us and lean on us and rely on us, but we got to show up in the right way because their ability to discern our bullshit, our garbage, our inauthenticity is sky high. They're watching us and they're not going to take our garbage any longer. This is the moment, this is the time for us to clean ourselves up, to come with clean energy, to come with an open heart. As I stood yesterday watching my daughter rolled up in the mattress, I noticed my fears. What is this child doing? She's going to fail her test. She's not going to get into school. This is the year that 8th grade is determined. 8th grade is the year 9th grade is determined. 9th grade is the year Ivy League schools are determined. Ivy League schools are the year college careers are determined. College careers are the year careers are determined. Careers are the year their salary, their livelihood, their worth, their whole life is determined. This is the cascading dominoes that are going to keep replaying in your head. More so in teenagehood than in childhood. High stakes, guys. But here is my invitation to you. This can be changed. This can be revolutionized. As I stood there in the doorway, and it was a metaphorical doorway, a symbolic doorway, And I wondered whether I should be seduced by my ego because I was right, or I should enter the as is of my child's surrender, release, let go, connect. As I made the decision between correction and saying no and laying the line, or saying yes with more conditions and surrender and release and connection and ease, I made the decision. And I want to give you the power of this decision. The decision that I will not live my life under siege by the future of my adolescent. That I will live my life entering the as-isness of the languor that is remaining of their childhood. That I will not truncate their childhood and hurtle them into responsibility and adulthood more than they need to. And yes, my child will be lazy. And yes, my child will be clumsy. And I will wonder if my child will ever grow up. But I will ease into that languor rather than get anxious by it. The same child whose dopamine is going to rise when they take their first hit of marijuana, that same child who's going to be hurtled into adulthood thinking that they are so old that they can have cocaine and alcohol and marijuana, is the same child that you're going to wish was more childish. It's the same child that you're going to wish stayed your baby more. So before you hurtle them into adulthood, ask yourself what you're really going to hurtle them into, because you may be paying a price you're not ready to pay yet. I ask our children should be expected to do 4 or 5 basic life-enhancing, boundary-making life skills, such as they should be bathing by now. Please, your child should be bathing by now. Your child should be brushing their own teeth daily, combing their hair, putting some cream, some self-care. Your child should be able to sit and do their homework. It doesn't have to be Bentley level homework, A grade, A+ grade. It should be average homework. They should be doing it. Your child should be able to study for a test and put in effort. Your child should be able to get ready for school on time. Your child should be able to interact with a few friends on a weekly basis, and your child should be able to interact with you in a meaningful, connected way on a weekly basis. If your child is not doing one of these 6 things, then please write to me either personally or on the Facebook page if you're bold enough to be vulnerable and share it with everyone, or connect with me through email. And we will talk about why these 6 things, which are the very basic things that your child should be doing by now, are not happening, and what you need to be doing for that to happen. If you are engaging with your child in a daily struggle or in a daily conflict, chances are you are unconscious. Next session, we are going to delve deeper into conflict and triggers. But let me leave you with a few highlights of what this conscious parenting journey is going to be for you over the course of the webinar. Number 1, this course is going to teach you that every instance with your child, is now going to be about how you engage, how you interact with them, what energy you bring, what fears you're operating out of, what control issues you haven't dealt with, and what you haven't relinquished yet. Someone just asked about sleeping, and let's put in biological things such as eating. I will say to you that by age 9 or 10 or 11 or 12, if the sleep issue hasn't been resolved or the eating issue hasn't been resolved, chances are that your kid is either going through something which needs to be paid attention to, like a red flag alert. But if it's the same sleep issues that have constantly plagued your childhood, your child's childhood, or your home for the last 12 years, chances are that it's you who now needs to recalibrate about what you need to surrender to. If it's a red flag alert that something has changed in the last few months, that's a different issue. What I'm trying to tell you is that by now, most of the habitual things needed to have been cemented and foundationally put to rest. If they're still coming up, then you need to contact me or on the Facebook page, and we need to deal with it, because these are issues that should be resolved by now. If your teen is now sleeping by 11 o'clock at night and they're getting 8 hours of sleep, so they have to get up by 7:30 or 8, I would say this is not a red flag issue, because most teens are sleeping by 11, but they need to get 7.5 or 8 hours of sleep. Is it the ideal 9.5 hours of sleep? No. But that may not happen anymore, because your teen's body is changing. They want to connect with their friends. They have more homework. So is it you who needs to recalibrate your expectations? Your teenagers' eating habits may be completely different than when they were under your control. Is this something that you're going to have to release or say yes to with the barest of conditions? We can say yes, but with conditions. But we have to learn to say a lot more yes than the hard line no, unless your teen is veering out of control. Conscious parenting is going to be all about you. It's going to be about you and how you were as a teenager. If you remember how vain you were, how self-obsessed you were, how everything was about fitting in, how everything was about finding your sense of self and place, then you will understand how confused your teenager is. If you remember how desperately you wanted to be seen, how desperately you wanted to be treated with non-judgment, how desperately you wanted your parents to just shut up, how desperately you needed them to be allies who had your back and were not constantly preaching, reminding, organizing you, micromanaging you, controlling you, making you anxious about your future, then you will be able to connect to your teen. Conscious parenting your teen is all about stepping way back into the wings of the stage and taking yourself out of center stage. Conscious parenting your teen is about grieving that you are no longer, and you should not be any longer, the highlight of their life. Their friends, their own identity, their own relationship with life is now going to be center stage. Are you ready to let them be autonomous? Now, all of you will say yes, but in the day-to-day, that thrust into independence doesn't translate. You say, yes, I want my teen to be independent. Really? Then stop micromanaging their life. Really? Then let go. Say yes with conditions. Give them the conditions. Tell them that if I see you on your phone during homework time, I'm going to take away your phone. I keep my daughter's phone right here with me during homework time. She doesn't have it. You can have conditions. But then I tell my daughter, after homework time, if the only thing you want is to interact with your friends, that's your free time. Find a way to negotiate so it's a win-win. Conscious parenting your teen is going to be about empathizing with their confusion, relating to their desire to fit in and be part of the crowd, asserting and reminding that who it is they are as individuals is more important than the group, but always balancing their needs for individuality with their needs to belong in a group. This is normal and natural. If you want them to come to you and tell you things about the group, you're going to have to zip up, have no opinion, be curious, and stay open. This is going to be the hallmark of parenting your teen. You're going to grieve, grieve, grieve. And then You're going to celebrate, celebrate, celebrate. Watch your teenager develop into an adulthood. What could be more amazing? I watch my teenager putting her little makeup, combing her hair, curling her ends, Snapchatting her friends, making all those faces. It's hilarious. It's wonderful. It's vibrant. This is their time, and we cannot rob them of their time. This is their time to experiment. This is their time to fall down. We need to step back into the sidelines and empower them. I only want to tell my daughter every day, I'm just amazed by you. You are amazing. You are so smart. How do you manage your friends so well? Oh my God, you forgot your room. I understand you forgot to clean your room. I understand you forgot your backpack. You're dealing with so much. Let me help you. I want to be my teenager's ally because secretly, yes, I wanted to say my mom is my best friend, but I need to work for that. I need to earn it. And the way to do it is to calm that ego down. Okay. So let's get some questions. Sheena says, my 11-year-old doesn't have a phone, but in the pretext of doing homework on his laptop, he gets to chatting with his class friends. How do I control this distraction? He still gets his homework done, but later in the night, and still wants to go and watch some TV, which cuts into our adult TV. So I'm not going to answer the last part. I hope my smile just showed you that that was your agenda. So we're not going to talk about adult TV time. Let's talk about teenagers and technology, right? Most of you have this problem with teenagers and technology. First, let me tell you, there's nothing to be scared of. This is their way of being on the home phone like we were for hours at a time. Weren't you on the home phone for 2 hours at a time, hiding in the bathroom, talking on your home phone? This is their home phone. This is their lifeline to talking to friends. Having said that, does it annoy you? Absolutely. Does it annoy me? Absolutely. Do we have a right to be annoyed? Completely. But we have to channel our annoyance in a way that doesn't take our teenager away from us. I cannot tell you how many battles I've had with my daughter where my hand is hovering over her phone and I'm ready to take it out and smash it against the wall because all she has done for the last 10 minutes is, press like and the heart and then do all her posing, and it just drives me crazy. So first, I'm learning to fall in love with it and be amused by it. Second, I'm learning to just control my wrist so it doesn't take the phone away and smash it because I don't have a right to that. That's their phone. And I'm finding a way to communicate my annoyance and my boundary in a way that works for her. This is what I try to do. I bring her to me with presence. I put the phone down with her. I go, I need your phone down. I need you to look at me. And I need you to see that now you have crossed the line. I am now very annoyed. I'm not going to show you my annoyed face here, but I have that annoyed face on. My eyes are shooting bolts of lightning. My lips have become thin and pursed and ugly. My skin is all blotchy and red. I will spare you that image right now, but I'm full on with presence that you have crossed a line. Hand me over the phone and I'm going to take it away. If your kid is on the social media on their laptop computer where they're supposed to do homework, then I come to them with that same presence and I go, if I catch you on chatting with your friends when you are supposed to do homework, then I'm just going to have to find a way for you to do homework on a laptop that doesn't have internet connection. What I'm trying to tell you here is that it doesn't matter what the modality is. It matters that your child understands that you are serious. Your presence needs to make a difference to them. Now you will say, that's really great, Shefali. My presence has no effect on them. Then I'm going to tell you Well, that's the breakdown. That's the 11-year breakdown. That's the 12-year breakdown. Your kid doesn't care that you are upset with them. And then we have a big problem. Your kid needs to care that you are upset. So if you say to me, now my kid doesn't care that I'm upset, we have a total breakdown in your mileage, in your bandwidth as a parent to influence them. If your influence is threadbare, if your influence has been reduced to nothing, where your kid doesn't care about whether you are upset or not, then we have a problem. Then you need to dial back, reestablish connection, reconnect and rebond with them so that they then care when you're upset. What can I say to you? That's the work you're going to have to do. Technology is nothing to be scared of. It does require boundaries, and it does require that we find a different way to channel our annoyance and create firm negotiable boundaries with them. And then it requires that we institute them. Technology is the bane of every parent because we don't have control over our children anymore. They are now communicating with their friends on Snapchat, and you can't even find the text. Try finding your kid's Snapchat. Within 45 seconds, it's disappeared. This demands that you trust your child. This demands even more that the lines of communication between the two of you are open, that they will come to you. Therefore, you're going to have to work even harder for them to consider you their ally, their go-to person, and their friend. This is why you're going to have to work even harder to gain their trust. I can tell you, mothers of girls have it hard, mothers of boys have it hard. I'm biased, so I may say that, oh, I'm a mother of a girl, I have it so easy. She comes and tells me everything. But maybe there's some mothers of girls who find it hard. I think mothers of boys have it hard because you don't even know what they're going through, or you don't know their language as you know with a girl. With a girl, you can have girly conversations about makeup and win them over with sharing your fancy Estee Lauder new blush maybe. With boys, you're going to have to work hard. But some mothers of boys say that it's really easy to connect with boys. Boys are open books. So I think no one has it easier or harder. I think it's the same for everyone. We all have to work hard as parents of teenagers to become their allies. Okay. Reggie says, what about developing responsibility to be a contributing member of the family? I have a 16 and 17-year-old. They already meet the 6 life-affirming boundaries you outlined, but they challenge me when they don't pick up after themselves, walk the dog, etc. So, part of this is part of the course for, adolescents. They're not going to be so into cleaning their room or doing the household chores. All I can say to you is, institute your boundaries as clearly as possible. You can't exactly say, if you don't walk the dog, I'm going to throw the dog out. You could say, if you don't pick up after yourself, you're going to have to do your own laundry, and they'll have to do their own laundry. My daughter, for example, tells me not to dust her study table because she gets annoyed when the cleaning lady moves things around. So I've told her, beautiful. I get to save my cleaning lady's expenses. I get to save the money. You have to clean the desk. But if I see that the desk is not cleaned and there's too much dust because I have allergies, I've told her, allergies to dust, then I'm going to have to get the cleaning lady to clean up. And she is so prompt about it. She cleans up. You're going to have to institute your boundaries clearly and follow through. Maybe your teenager doesn't get allowance if they don't do their chores, or they don't get their laundry done, or the cleaning lady doesn't go into their room and they have to suffer the mess. What you're going to have to learn as a parent of an older teen is that your time is so limited now. Do you want to waste it over wars around dirty rooms, or do you want to waste it in creating and establishing the deepest connection you have before they leave the home? Do you want them to remember that their parent was always nagging them and on top of them and preaching to them? Or do you want them to remember that that their parent was always on their side, having fun with them, playing games with them. Remember, if dopamine is being released to only novel situations, which is why your teen goes for risky novel situations, can you become the novel situation in their life? Can you do can you do something entertaining with them that they seek to be with you? Can you play games with them and have fun with them, that you become the cool, hip, new thing in their life, that they want to be with you? That's where your energy needs to be, not so much on nitpicking and prodding them and micromanaging them. Simi Gandhi says, would you consider conducting a webinar class for teenagers so they can understand the parent brain baggage? Wouldn't that be so awesome if we could teach our teenagers how to handle us as parents? Totally. I would be so open to it. Let's figure out a way. Let's take another question. Maria asks, frequently when my daughter has conflicts with friends, she is quick to see her friends' mistakes, but seems unable to see her contribution to the conflict. How can I help her with this in a conscious way? My advice to you is let the world and her social interactions be the big bad wolf, and you be the ally. Why do you want to point out her mistakes? Why do you want to be the Simon Cowell? There are enough Simon Cowells in the world. If you want to point out her mistake, you need to do so with gentleness, with humor, with cleverness. Don't go head on and say, child, you were wrong, or what about what you do? No, don't do that, because your teenager will not come to you anymore. First, you want to always applaud them and validate them. And you go, I can see why you get so annoyed with your friend, Pat. I can see why she annoys you. Boy, she sounds like a difficult person. You always take their side. You always empathize with them first. And then later on, you say, I can see that, but maybe Pat was annoyed with you. Maybe she was annoyed with you because remember last time you were kind of rude to her, right? You say it in an indirect way, in the same way that you would like to receive feedback. And then sometimes if you're a teenager and you are very close and you can be very honest, you can say something like, look, I know that you're going to be upset if I say this to you, but maybe you want to think about, that you're betraying your friend too, that you're doing something rude to her as well. That's it. And then you watch and see how your teenager takes it in. And if they're curious and they want to engage with you more, then you go deeper. You're always watching how your teenager is receiving you. Don't just bombard yourself into the room with your weapons and your arsenal-filled truck. You can't do that anymore. You could do that when they were young. You cannot do that as teenagers. You need to watch very carefully. How is my teenager receiving this? And as I said in the beginning of the session, if they're not receiving it, do not open your mouth, because if it's not the right time, then it is the wrong time. And it is a time that will create dysfunction and further disconnection. You don't want to risk it. Erica says, my son knows how to bathe and brush his teeth. I'm glad he does, but he will fight it every day. He can go a couple of days without brushing his teeth as he's pushing away from my control. How do I inspire him to do it consistently? First, I will tell you that a lot of boys who are teenagers suddenly have the worst self-care habits. I'm happy to say that I don't feel that girls do this a lot, because I think girls are inherently more vain, and you can always get them on the beauty card. They want to look good and they want to act good. But boys, for some reason, my goodness, and I don't pity any mother with boys who are 12 to 15, sometimes they just let go of this. They completely let go of self-care. And I can't tell you how many mothers come to me grieving this. They're just besides themselves that their teenage boy is filthy, dirty, and unkempt. So you're not alone. Having said that, I do think it is related to control. It is also related to poor self-image. It is related to low self-worth and security. So I would channel my energy, instead of saying brush, 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 I would channel it to, you're so handsome, or look how beautiful you look, or the next time he does brush his teeth, say, you smell so good. What did you do today? And try and get your teenage son to aspire to their beauty, to their best selves. You know, teenage boys don't have it easy. You know, they may have acne and pimples and gawky bodies. You know, teenage girls somehow, I think, enter their beauty faster than teenage boys. And teenage boys have a rough time. You know, everyone says girls have a rough time, but I think boys have an even harder time because they need to be jocks and they need to be on a sports team. And the pressure on a teenage boy, I think, are even harder. So we want to empathize with them. We want to understand that this could be about control and self-worth. And we want to channel our control into validation and praise and pumping them up and empowering them. Catalina asks, and then I'm going to take this as the last question. Catalina asks, when our teens suffer a disappointment or something unfair happens to them, how do we offer support without letting our own fear and anger take over? How to avoid being overprotective? So I'm going to touch upon this all through the course, but this is a big one. This is big for us as parents of teens. And let's enter the next 4 weeks with a pledge, a declaration that we are going to connect to our children, to our teenagers. There is no time left. Namaste. Thank you. I hope to see you again next week.